Yes. Welcome back to ACT, Root to Fruit. My name is Marcel, and I'm on a quest to dig into the roots of the contextual behavioral sciences so that the fruit that we deliver, did I say dig into the roots or did I say the fruits? I don't know what I said, but I meant the roots, whatever I said. So that the dig into the roots so that the fruit that us clinicians deliver is as pristine as possible. And today I am very, very, very excited to be meeting with Niklas Törneke to talk about all things CBS and function, behavior. Niklas is a psychiatrist from Sweden and is a prolific author in the field and has done tremendous work. I would assume that most people probably don't think of you as a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that might be so.
Yeah.
In this context.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today.
Though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have been lucky enough to find some guides to help me through this forest, and I'm not a congenital behaviorist, so a lot of this is very challenging, and so I'm assuming if you're listening, you're in similar shoes, and that's the ride we're on today. So we were talking about the difficulty in learning this language of describing, explaining behavior in these terms. How important do you think it is to the work that someone is trying to do in ACT or FAP or the other CBS technologies?
Mm-hmm. To grasp the basics of behavior science. Well, I think if you're doing, at least if you're doing ACT, which is the model that I'm most familiar with of the ones that you mentioned, I think you can be a good ACT therapist, really. Just working with the typical processes of the hexagon, so I'm not, I don't think you have to understand this or something like that. I don't think, depends on what your goals are, right? Yeah. What do you want? But what I can say about myself from my own, that I've always been interested in trying to understand what I'm doing and to have a deeper and, in a sense, simpler or more, understanding, I found very helpful. And I think if you really understand some of the basic things of behavior analysis, including then the behavior analysis of language, that is relational frame theory, I think it's very helpful, especially in the situations when you sort of cannot just stick to a manual, but you have to be more flexible. Yeah. So I think to me it's been very helpful. But I'm not saying that that you can't do ACT well without. Okay. All right. Without this.
When you said you could be a good ACT therapist, I guess I just kind of imagined myself getting that evaluation from you, and I think that I would wonder, wow, what am I trying to say here? I guess that good coming from you is kind of maybe like a little bit below standard. So I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but if it's even valuable. But so okay, so yeah, you can be kind of doing what the field, what the ACT is getting at, but to really do it, I'm hearing you say it's neat. You need to go deeper with precision.
Yeah, I think, and especially if you, let's say, for example, if you want to understand some of the, maybe, let's say, if you're an ACT therapist and you want to learn things from FAP, say, functional analytical psychotherapy. Now, to tie them together, you need a more basic understanding, I think, that ties them together. Or what are really the similarities between, say, ACT and behavioral activation? Now, if you understand some of the basics, you will easily see the overlapping areas. And I think you can, even if you're interested in things like, okay, what is the overlap between certain models of cognitive therapy and ACT? Now, if you understand the basics, once again, you will easily see those.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you can move around from a more basic level. And I think both at the practical and the more sort of theoretical level, I think it's helpful. At least it's been to me.
Yeah. And I would imagine in your work over the years, you've seen it helpful to others who you've trained and worked with.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So one of
and
the
that, of course, as you might know, I don't come from a behavioral background originally. I was trained, actually, the first sort of model of psychotherapy that I encountered was this psychodynamic, because when I was a young psychiatrist, this was the one that sort of totally dominated, at least in Sweden.
Yeah.
And then I came into cognitive therapy, which is really where I had a lot of my basic therapy training. And then, then eventually, of course, I ran into ACT, and then that led me into a deeper behavioral understanding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the functional approach is one that I want to kind of focus on today, if that's okay. You know, this understanding, explaining, describing behavior, and we talked about a chapter that you wrote in the Handbook of Contextual Behavioral Sciences, and also your book, The ABCs of Human Behavior with Jonas Romnero, is a great primer, and for anyone who's just getting into understanding these concepts. I don't know if we should maybe just kind of dive into the real play.
Yeah, why not?
Work. Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
So if I get the idea, we just try to play out a typical clinical kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
And then and of course, the task would be for me then is to, together with you, do a functional analysis of whatever thing you bring up.
Yeah.
And let me just ask you, just to sort of be clear about this. Now, obviously, in therapy, there are basically two types of situations that you could use for a functional analysis. One would be the one that is typically focused in FAP, for example. That is the behavior actually occurring as we talk.
Yes. Okay.
So, which I think is very helpful if you get to that, okay? Or FAP would totally focus on that.
Yeah.
In ACT, of course, you can focus on that, but you can also focus about the other principal area. That is, you look into a situation or a behavior that the client tells you about. That isn't necessarily occurring now, but it's occurring, whatever, in the situation in which you think there is a problem of some kind, right?
Yeah.
You get this distinction.
I do.
I wonder, because
well, I'd be open to either. My plan is to talk about my relationship to food, and so
So in that sense, if we should go for the first, then you would have to eat now.
Yeah.
You have to play it out.
Well,
right?
I guess the reason I hesitate in answering. Go ahead. Yeah, the reason I hesitated in answering the question when you presented the two approaches was because I just thought about, what we'll probably talk about is my relationship to pain and discomfort, and that's definitely something that we could expose, or we could see in action without food. So
yeah, we could. Yeah. If there is any, then of course I would typically ask you, okay, is there any sense of that now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be the typical
Okay.
question. Now, I think this we could all go either way, and I didn't bring this up to sort of that you have to go into the what's occurring now.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is part of the way you need to think as a client or as a therapist.
Okay.
There are these two principles. I think in the book, by the way, the ABCs, we talk about this as the two scenes.
Mm-hmm. You say C's?
Two
Cut out.
scenes or stages
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Situation or a context in which something plays out.
Yeah.
One is the one that we share now at this moment. Okay. But of course, most clients coming to therapy, they don't start by, discussing how they interact with the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the natural starting point for most people that come.
Yeah.
The natural thing is to start to talk about something occurring in their lives, right? But not necessarily occurring here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, if you decide now, certain types of therapy explicitly focuses on what goes on now between us. Right?
Yeah.
Typical, of course, would be psychodynamic transference. Typical.
Yeah.
FOP is also like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to go.
Yeah.
Most models of therapy, ACT definitely, and I think most CBT models in general, they would try to work with both. They would probably start with sometimes you don't talk about what's occurring between you and me at all. You just talk about what's occurring between you and food, for example, when you whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it's a good thing in general is to see that you can use both these scenes or these. I think it's talked about a bit like this about in FAP also about the in-out and the out-in kind of thing when you sort of so it's there. But so I'm just saying it's because I think in a good function analysis, if you do a function analysis of a particular situation, it's good to have both. I think have an example from the outside, and then if it occurs here and now, let's talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. And I also think too, just in terms of like where the client is at, because sometimes something might be working more for a client than what I have in mind, than what I have in mind and what I think we should be doing.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. So I mean, that's to me, if we have a real play, this is totally up to you. I just thought it was a good sort of intro kind of.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Anything else before we jump in? And I guess I'm gonna leave the. How about you are the time, or you determine when it's time to stop and kind of and talk about afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if we do it as the typical way I would do this in a workshop or together with especially in this kind of situation is that we can both break.
Okay.
Whenever we want to get out to discuss something, we can you just make a mark.
Yeah.
And then you leave. Okay. And then we talk about what happened, and then we can go on or we can finish or whatever.
Sounds good.
So it's up to if you want to discuss something, just raise your hand and we're out.
All right.
But you don't leave without raising your hand. That's sort of the I say the same for me. Okay.
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah.
Get it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So I have had what I think is a problematic relationship with food for a while, and recently I've been really focusing on just the relationship and wanting to change it so that it's not so I guess so not so much that it is not what I'd like it to be is that it serves the function of nourishing me, and it's not I want to untangle it from entertainment and comfort and just it being like important. I don't want it to be that important of a part of my day.
Okay. Is that part of the problem, that it's in some sense it becomes too important? Or
it does. Yeah, and it's I mean, I about 16 years ago I lost about 100 pounds. I was 100 pounds heavier, And
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah,
and also just other contexts. I grew up in a home with my Italian grandmother, who was an immigrant, and she
hmm
cooked. She cooked, and that was a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
That was a lot of love
Oh,
there
yeah,
in
yeah.
that food, and I'm
Oh,
realizing that too, um, and so over the last 16 years, it's my relationship has been much healthier with food, but it's kind of like I still see smaller particles of the same kind of bigger behavior before in terms of comfort, and
mhm,
so recently I've been doing some changes, and it's more like my concern is like I've changed what I think is like maybe the topography kind of, I've changed just what I
mhm,
do, you know, and
mhm,
I do some fasting, some intermittent fasting, where I eat at just certain parts of the day, and I'm doing that
mhm,
more for kind of health reasons in terms of like my belief in kind of living closer to our natural state, which was not to always have food. If you think about evolution, humans didn't always have
Okay.
food.
Okay.
So it's not, I'm not,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no, I don't see it as a control kind of thing personally. It's just trying to be more
Okay.
living more
There's something
naturally.
there you want to see. Okay.
Yeah. And, and then like, I just eliminate certain foods from my diet, like sugar and processed grains and dairy. And then I just, whatever's within that, I eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but as I journal and as I look at this, one of the things that's comes up is what I while I want to change my relationship to food, I also want to change my relationship to pain, and
Mm-hmm.
so I guess I'm just concerned that I'm just kind of changing the topography though right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. What is so could you tell me something about what is occurring now? I mean, not necessarily now as we talk, but
Hmm.
now in your daily life.
Yeah,
What is occurring that you would consider, a problem in some way, or the thing that you want to change? What is the are you
yeah.
doing wrong things, so to speak, or are you
Mm,
experiencing something that you don't want to experience, or that you want to experience? Oh, I don't know. What
yeah.
is?
Um, well, I guess one example that comes to mind is I notice like in the afternoons I kind of have this lull in energy, and
Hmm
and I'll go eat, some food. And that's like it's this it's not that I'm hungry. I'm not physically feeling hungry. I have this deep-seated notion that if I eat something, it's gonna change um that feeling.
Okay. Could you say something more about that
Yeah.
feeling? What kind of feeling is
Yeah,
that
so
feeling?
it's like it's just kind of it's like a bog kind of, like just like um sloth, and and it draws my attention to my it really draws my attention to that kind of like I'm um go walking through a bog. That's the image that's coming to me right now, where it's like
Hmm
mud and water, and it's just like that's and I
Okay.
need something to help
Ah,
me get through that. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is that you said something about the afternoon? Is that typical? Sort of that in
Yeah.
the afternoon you have
Yeah.
this sort of sense or this feeling of walking in the
Yeah.
mud.
Yeah, and then I'll do other stimulating things like, checking the news, which I tend not to do too
Hmm
much anymore. I mean, I do probably on a daily basis, but not like, 50 times a day. I, just
hmm
once or twice a day, just quick look. And
Okay.
so I'll do those kinds of things. Maybe, just, surfing on the internet, and it's kind of like I need something to stimulate me, to like pick me up.
Okay. So food is one thing that sort of you go for to get stimulated in this sort of muddy walk kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And you have some other examples. You can go for the news or for
Yeah.
something. Are there other some things that would be typical?
Well, I've been inserting some other things that are I see as more like kind of self-love, and that's like some breathing techniques that I do, and then playing the
Okay.
sax.
Are they also to get rid of this sense of
Yeah,
muddy
yeah,
walking or?
yeah. play a
Okay.
saxophone.
Okay.
The saxophone though
Okay.
is more to play through it, to really jump in and play from that emotion when I'm,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
So
So
that's a
in a
little different.
sense, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um, what is, if you look at these, I mean, we're trying to talk about some strategy. I mean, there is a sense of uh, walking in the mud,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Mm-hmm.
comes
Yeah.
uh, feeling kind of, has it, is it a kind of boredom, or is it kind of a, or
No, I would say like fogginess
no?
is another one to think of,
Okay.
just kind of
Okay. Good.
cloudy and just,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Okay. So you're in the fog. Okay. And then you try to, then you do these different things. And did I get that right? That some of the things you do are more like to try to get rid of the mud
Yes.
or the fog.
Yeah, the food, the
Eating, going for the
breathing.
news. Then you said that the saxophone was slightly different. It's also something you do in this kind of situation,
Yeah.
but it's different.
It's
Would you say?
different. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you
Yeah, it's
tell me how?
I'm giving a voice to that that's there.
Okay.
And
Okay.
this is something that's new to me because I just started playing this year, and so I've just gotten to the
Oh,
level of proficiency where I feel like I can express what's going on for me emotionally.
yeah. So you sort of, you play out the fog, so to speak. You play
Yeah.
according the foggy tune,
Yeah, but
or
and it's not, I don't see it so much as like I'm trying to get rid of it as much as I'm
uh,
really just mapping it out a little bit, you know. I'm
okay.
exploring
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I get that the way of using food or even going for the news, as you said, you don't
Hmm.
really like that. I mean, it's like
No.
there's something. Could you tell me about that? Why is that?
Well, it's like I used to see it as like a numbing out thing, but now I what I see it is like that I'm already numb. I'm already trying. I'm already got this kind of numb sensation going on, and I'm trying to find
Hmm.
stimulation somewhere. And you know,
Yeah.
I so I've been working on, like, I don't eat um, in front of a screen. I practice, you know, mindful kind of
Okay.
eating. Okay, and so before it
Yeah.
was like, you know, I would, if I you know, that time I would be eating and, you know, on YouTube watching videos, and that, you know, just this, the most stimulation possible. It's like I'm trying to awaken something. Like I'm like
Hmm.
really trying to change how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I get it. Now let's have as this is supposed to be, illustrating things. Let's have a break here, just to sort of
Okay.
see if
Yeah.
uh, is it understandable how the idea of a function analysis is sort of guiding my talking to you like this? Let's see if this is sort of
Yeah.
clear.
Uh, well,
What about? Let me start by asking you. Do you
yeah.
have any idea what I'm?
Yes, I am. As I reflect, I see that you're helping me to discriminate between my behaviors, um,
Yeah.
and um, it doesn't feel like overly analytical. Feels natural.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, if you would, no, that's right. I mean, obviously, I think you're catching what I'm trying to do.
Uh huh.
If you would sort of put an ABC schedule on this,
Hmm.
uh, when you mentioned this feeling of the fogginess or walking in the mud kind of experience,
Yeah.
I assumed that this was an important aspect of antecedents to something that you do. So in
Yes.
the situation of having this experience, you do certain things. And of course, you started the conversation by saying that you wanted to change something in relation to this. Okay,
Hmm.
so I mean, it's very simple, really. Part of my questioning was actually, in my mind, I was a sort of, okay, let's ask him a little bit about the what's in the A here. What are
Hmm.
the antecedents?
Hmm.
Because I think that and your emotional experience here that you describe in different ways,
Yeah.
that I just assumed that was an important aspect. And then, of course, the other questions were directed towards what do you actually do in this situation? And you gave different examples.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, which was interesting to me, a few of the examples, the two first you mentioned, were functionally, it seemed to me, equivalent.
Okay.
Food, going for the news.
Yeah.
Of course, topographically, two very different things, right? It's not the same.
No.
But functionally,
yeah.
Well, I mean, we're guessing at this stage.
And
we are just
yeah. And the breathing too, even though like
yeah. Anything that tries to get rid of the fogginess, is functionally equivalent. So I would say, okay, here is this possibly a part of the problematic strategy? Okay, you could sort of, and then you said when you talked about the saxophone, you were clear on that. That's sort of different in a sense, right? And at least that's what you said. So maybe we don't know yet. Maybe that's functionally different.
Yeah.
But this is just that was just to sort of, maybe this was obvious, but I just want, because this is meant for others to see and to listen.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay, this is a typical ABC analysis of an event that is not occurring now, or at least we're not talking about it as occurring now.
Yes.
Right. We talk, it's actually not in the afternoon either for you, even though it's for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you're feeling some of this now.
Oh yeah. Actually, there was a small. That's an interesting. Actually, there was a small mentioning of consequences here, because because you mentioned what you did in that situation. So we talked, that situation would be aspects of an A. What you do is the B. And then when I ask you, what is it you don't like about this? We're sort of moving a little bit to the BC connection. What do you get? What happens when you do this? Because obviously you're saying, I do this and I don't like it. So there are some consequences here that are in some sense aversive to you. That's why you bring this up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because if the situation was, oh, you feel foggy in the afternoon, and then you eat something and wow, good, here we go. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing.
But that's not the case.
No. Yeah.
That was just...
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that'd be a good place to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Let's go back.
So we're in scene.
In scene again.
In scene. Okay. So I do want to riff off of something though that you just said, and if it's okay, because I would like to talk more about why it's not why I don't like it.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons. One of them is that I noticed that it doesn't help. My energy is worse. Okay, it's depleted.
Okay, so you eat, and maybe do you have a little sense of relief in that, or not at all?
There's some entertainment value. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe some comfort. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help you with your with the fogginess in the long run.
No.
Okay.
And so then the other part of it is like the judgment that I have about not like controlling my I don't know just a judgment that I do it, I guess, just judgment that that like kind of like I'm weak, or I can't handle my my emotions, I can't handle my discomfort.
Okay. Yeah. So it's the discomfort, it's your action to get rid of it, but there's also a sort of there's some kind of I don't know, judge around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sort of, there's you shouldn't have this kind of feeling and give in. You should. or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I should do something healthy. I should always be doing something that is
Okay,
healthy.
healthy.
100%
Okay,
healthy, altruistic, as another, that
okay, okay. And if you don't,
I am I'm not dealing with my shit. I'm I'm,
okay, okay,
yeah, um yeah, I don't know. I'm
okay.
yeah.
What is your experience of doing something that might not be very healthy, but just enjoyable? What is
Mm,
your experience with that area of life?
I'm trying to think of something. Well, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind besides, partying when I was younger, which is,
Hmm.
martial arts, which, I get injured doing,
Hmm.
and but it's,
Hmm.
it's like I, you know, am in love with it. So
Okay.
I don't
Do
know. I don't.
you do that at the present time? Or?
Well, not because of the whole pandemic, but yeah, I was before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Hmm.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let's say, now I'm thinking about your Italian grandma here.
Yeah.
If what about alcohol?
Mm,
I mean, thinking about Italian, they have
yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of good wine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well,
I
no,
don't know
I
if
mean,
you.
I stopped everything when I was 21. So, 18 years
Okay, so you
ago.
don't.
Yeah. It was,
Okay,
it was excessive, it was like, it was,
okay,
yeah. So,
okay,
um,
okay,
abstinence was
okay,
the way.
okay. Let's let's say it's like this. Just this is a kind of playing around. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, let's assume that there was something, uh, in a sense, not healthy. Like alcohol, drinking some wine, or smoking a cigar, or I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Um, and you could do it without any negative effects.
Yeah.
For some strange way,
Yeah.
this would, just for this moment, it would be
Yeah.
healthy, even though it's not. Okay.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And there would be no, judgment, or
Hmm.
it's in this category. Do you get
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
for here?
Yes.
Then I wonder, and you had an hour, for that, or half an hour, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have any effects, long run negative
Hmm.
effects,
Hmm.
but it's within this area of life.
Hmm.
What would you choose to do? Or would you not do it anyway? Or would you
Oh.
be tempted to do something?
Ah. Yes. Yeah.
What
Like,
what's
so
that?
what would I do?
Yeah, in that category.
Hmm. I don't know. Well, okay. So, I mean, one thing that came to mind that I didn't say earlier that I think that I do, that I'm really, I hope I'm not trying to, I'm really not trying to sound like a goody two shoes here, but like I eat meat, and I enjoy meat, but I
Okay,
ethically, it bothers the hell out of me,
okay, okay,
especially if it's meat that I don't know where it came from and how the animals
okay.
were treated.
Yeah, okay,
So, but I mean, I made, brats on the grill,
okay, okay.
yeah,
So that's one thing that could be in this. If this situation was so that
yeah, yeah,
you would have a really nice steak,
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Mhm,
What would be then? Let's say you did that then, because okay, I get the chance and it's nothing, and then the judge comes along, even if he wasn't around, and he
mhm.
finds out. What would he say? Or I don't know if it's he. It might be she. I don't know. That's up to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The judge would say, um, not good enough, kind of. Not, you failed
Oh,
again. Um, you're not living clean.
okay. You're not
Yeah,
living clean.
yeah.
Okay.
You're part of the
Okay.
problem. Um,
Yeah.
But I don't, to be honest though, I think that my judge is very nonverbal. It's just kind of these like,
Okay.
it's just a feeling of, um, I don't know how much, I don't know how verbal my judges are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. But it's still, if you sort of, it's a non-verbal way to say not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not, but
You're
it's
not
not.
there.
It's sort of more a sense than an actual
There's
word.
like a perfection thing around it,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't hear that word, but it's like that's the ideal, that it's
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
everything has to be a certain way.
Okay. Okay. So let's see if I get this right. It's more like, you know, bad, but there's no specification. It's just bad. You shouldn't do that. It's not.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you stepped outside the road,
Mm-hmm.
kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. It's how is that place?
Hmm. It's mm, it's confining. It's
Mm-hmm.
feels mm, unforgiving. It's
Mm-hmm.
limiting, and yeah, it's annoying. It's like God, just uh, yeah, just smoke a freaking cigar, man. Like
Okay.
you know,
Okay. Yeah.
um,
Okay.
I think of
So it's like
it's
either
like
way.
it's
Okay.
very
Yeah.
anal. It's very anal and uptight,
Okay.
to use
Okay.
terminology
Okay.
from another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I get it. I had
yeah.
enough. I read enough Freud to know what that means. Okay. Now, okay. Let me ask you. Let me ask you something here. Let's assume that you could still walk sort of the road,
Mhm.
but you could take a few steps on and off at the side sometimes. You can still keep track, but you
Yeah.
sort of there's a little bit more relaxed kind of uh, moving forward. Let's
Hmm.
assume.
Hmm.
Is there something you could? Is there something there that you could do there that, or could be, more accessible to you? Um, that would be important if you had that more. What can I say? Free walk.
So are you asking in terms of the afternoons, like when I'm feeling foggy, or
Yeah, in the afternoons or in life more generally. I mean,
generally?
is there something that is important to you that is left out in a sense by this sort of annual walk?
Mm. Mm. Well, when you talk about walking, I think a lot about um, just my movement throughout the world, and how much am I kind of um, confining myself to going just where I think I need to go, and being in a rush, and instead
Mm-hmm.
of just okay. So to answer your question, I think about just I kind of see myself as just going out and um, picking up things along the way. I mean, I guess the cliche would be like kind of stopping and smelling the roses, and interacting with things that come up in wholehearted kind of ways. Um, I don't know if I'm answering your question though.
Well, I think you're you're looking that way. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I guess an example comes up to mind, and the example is this is a few years ago. I was out for a walk early in the morning, and
mhm.
it was it was a Sunday morning. I was probably 6 in the morning, and I was living in Miami at the time, and I was on my way to meet with some folks, and I was going to be talking to them about something. And I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to talk about on the way. Okay. And all of a sudden I saw this guy coming in a wheelchair towards me a few blocks away. And I thought, oh man, I gotta cross the street, cause I gotta keep thinking about, I got this like script I'm working on that I need to think about. And by the time I got through the conversation with myself, he was there in front of me, and he said, he looked at me and he said, Hey brother, would you push me up the ramp? That's my house right there, and
Okay. Yeah.
and I pushed him up the ramp, and that's where I want to be more in life. I don't want to be kind of crossing the street. And I don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about. Maybe you can help me. Maybe you hear something there, but that's where my mind went when you asked me this question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that I wonder a little bit. That which you're trying to describe now.
Yeah.
Some kind of a, I don't know. It's hard to know if what is the best way to describe this, but I mean, you have some kind of a sense there. And if I would try to say something about it, maybe with something like, being aware in a sense in the moment and sort of catching whatever, seems reasonable, and that might be part of good life or something. In this case, it was, this guy helping this guy. It could be other things. It could be whatever, something beautiful maybe, or a good smell, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. Then I wonder, to what extent you mentioned this playing the saxophone.
Yeah.
Are these connected? Is that part of this, or is it not?
How so?
Because you were describing a problematic strategy of trying to get rid of things.
Yeah.
To be, in a sense, keep each step should be correct.
Yes.
And then in contrast to that, we're now talking about something like, being more wandering, looking around, seeing things. Well, still walking the path you want to walk, but with a more, in an ordinary terminology, with an more open mind to whatever. Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering, because you said something about playing the saxophone as being different from this struggle to be healthy kind of thing, or getting rid of.
Perfect. Maybe I would say struggle to be perfect.
Okay.
If I'm hearing what you're trying to say correctly.
Trying to be perfect, or are you talking about the saxophone? I'm not sure here.
Oh yeah, no. Just you said So trying to be perfect. I just thought perfect. Captured it more than healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I get it. So what about the playing of the saxophone? Is that part of trying to be perfect, or is that part of that other?
No. It is. It is. For me, it's play. It's really play. It's just being a kid again. That's what it's about for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead. What's that?
Yeah, to me that's different from being perfect. Playing.
Yeah.
A child who is playing and a child who is trying to be perfect. There are a lot of differences there.
Yeah, I agree. So to answer your question, no, I don't see it as similar.
Oh, okay. Then because to me, I'm not sure you see what you say, but even when you describe this walk and this man in his wheelchair.
Yeah.
Now, of course, in a sense, helping him up to his house.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you could call it playing, but it seems like it's more there are similarities, right? Being open to the moment, seeing what's going on. Yeah. That's a lot. Playing has a lot of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I love improvisation. I love, especially music, jazz, and just creating
Okay.
new
Oh yeah,
and
you play. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my draw towards the saxophone and
Mm-hmm.
other creative arts like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there other areas of your life where this playing, being open,
Hmm.
you know, stepping around a little bit, uh, where you have that?
Yeah, with my children, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Mm-hmm.
make um, time every day to just play with them. And if most days I say yes to everything they want to do. Not like I mean, not let's go. But I just like we're playing together, we're spending time together. Hey, let's go take a bath, or let's go.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
just
Okay.
just really getting on the ground with them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. What about this feeling of fogginess?
yeah.
Does it never turn up in those situations, or it does, or how do you deal with that then?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know that I. Yeah, I think it has, and I think I tend to kind of maybe be more distant and distracted in my mind than interacting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
it can trick you off
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
when you're with your kids, but
Hmm.
not always, it seems, or
No, no, but I mean, they're still in the nap phase, so afternoons they're napping. So I don't really
oh
see them
yeah,
when I'm in
okay,
my
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so they don't help you in these
No,
afternoon
no.
situations. Oh, I
Mm,
get it. I
no.
get it.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. It's interesting, really, because if you think about it, um, you started by telling me you have a special story with food.
yeah,
You started with your problem now, as you see it, with food, and
yeah,
then you mentioned that there's a special historical background to this, right?
yeah.
Overweight,
Uh-huh.
uh, strong culture of food, and a lot of love there, you
Hmm.
said, but
Hmm.
also an excess, a problem that
Yeah,
became a problem to you,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Uh, and then this area of, you have the be perfect, put your every step in the right position kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Um, and then you have the playfulness, for example, with your kids, with
Hmm.
the saxophone. Now, I think in general, a lot of people have a playfulness around food. That is, there is an enjoyment with it.
Yeah,
There is something like, oh, it's a bit relaxing.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but you have a history where that became a trap.
Yes.
Would you agree here?
Yeah, yeah. And I
Or I
don't,
don't.
I'm not, I don't want to take the gusto out of food. I don't want to. Yeah, but yeah, it has become a trap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but what about your experience nowadays then with the playfulness as it goes with food? Do you have what is
Yeah,
that like?
yeah. I cook meals, and we eat meals
Okay,
that we like and are enjoy.
okay.
And
So there is a playfulness there too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely, one of my kind of guidelines around food, around the mindfulness eating, is just eating with enjoyment. Enjoy, eat with
Okay,
gusto,
okay, okay.
and so yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that then the fogginess doesn't get in.
Um. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I find when I set the stage, it's not. I'm trying. I'm thinking about like kind of how food routine right now is, and how I break my fast with a big meal with a meal, and
Hmm.
that feels a lot less kind of toxic. Like I'm sitting down. I'm not distracted by anything. I'm
Hmm.
just working on putting my fork down between bites, and just
Okay,
being present
okay.
with it. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's more like the afternoon after that where it's
Hmm. Wow. And that is that. more playful rather than perfect? If we have these two sort of playfulness
that's
and
more playful, definitely.
that's more playful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Are you free to play, or do you have to play?
Ah. So I don't know.
Okay. Oh.
There seems like there's a lot there for me in that question, and I can say that this year I've been making a concerted effort to open up things for me to play more, and hence picking up the saxophone. And but do I have to, or am I free to? It's probably more in the have to. I would have to say, yeah, it's probably more like I have to.
Okay. You know, you could view it this way. If we try to summarize a little bit on what I catched so far, and we'll see how you will sort of correct me. So it seems like we've been talking about two strategies or ways of behaving. Two functional classes, you could say. I wouldn't say that in a therapy to somebody, but as we are talking, sort of, it's and we've given each a name. One is more like be perfect, or perfectionism, or something. Acting in a perfect way.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a lot of have to on that one. Like if there's an instructor and there's a judge, and they're sort of kind of same person. They tell you have to do this and that. That's one aspect.
Yeah.
Then there is the playfulness or playing, which is different, and you can sense the difference between them. But of course, it's also mixing in. That's because if the instructor and the judge, the perfect, are strong, which is what you sort of, they're sort of, if they weren't dominating you in some sense, you wouldn't bring this up, right? So there's something there. Okay, and of course, sometimes they get into the playfulness also. They sort of, that's the danger in a sense, or the possible trap that they would sort of, they would bring that in too.
Yeah.
As then you must be playful, and if you're not playful, that's not good for you, and right, and it's not right, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So there's you can, and that's probably so. It can easily, and it seems to me that the thing that would be helpful to you would be to sort of notice these two different strategies. And of course, that's not, not as an intellectual move, because you easily get into that. As soon as you sort of, it's more like, which is it, whatever is it, has to be. Then you're back into, this should be right. And then of course it should be perfect, right? So it's more like a sense, more like like a smell.
Yeah.
Does it smell like the play, or does it smell like, and if it, and I would even say, train yourself in these two smells to recognize them.
Okay.
You won't be perfect in that. Okay, that's fine. But see if you can, and when you notice sort of this smells more like perfect, just notice. Step back a little bit. If I would be more playful right now, what would I do? You get what I'm?
Yeah. And I have a question about the smells. So I'd like to kind of come up with two different smells to help me remember.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if, for instance, if we were to go with the judger, because one side is the play, one side is kind of the judger, right?
Okay.
The perfection play. I think the perfection, I would give it something like kind of a gross smell, but I don't know if that's not helpful. You know, like if I were to say it smells like the sewer, you know, I don't.
Okay. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm just wondering. Right now, I'm just wondering. Uh, are we just right now?
Yeah.
What smell is here?
I got
Are
cut.
you
I got cut
are you
grass.
playing now, or are you trying to be?
Oh, this.
What?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm this. Yeah. It's that. It's the. Thank you. It's the. It's the perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
And it's the smell that just came up for me as I looked up at this this blanket I have for sound in front of me. I got mothballs for the perfect
Oh,
smell.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'm also to connect back to where we started
Mm-hmm.
with this sense of walking in the mud or fogginess
Mm-hmm.
in the afternoons.
Yeah.
And there's another question, more not that you have to answer it, more like to bring it with you
Mm-hmm.
is what when you notice when you're in that situation. Try to see if you can sense what is the judge telling you what to do, and what is a more what about if you would sort of increase your playing, and not I don't only mean the saxophone, that might be the saxophone, but
Mm-hmm.
as you describe it, but other ways to be more playful in that situation.
Mm.
And you don't have to answer now,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just
I agree. I mean, I think that's a. I just thought about just laying down for 5 minutes. You
okay
know.
okay yeah
You know,
okay
to be
yeah
with it, to be with it. You know, just to
okay
this is what's going on right now.
It's interesting to even say if this feeling, this fogginess
Mm-hmm.
was a thing to be played with, what kind of thing would it be?
Mm.
A bit like, if it comes along,
Mm-hmm.
you would go kind of, oh, here it comes again.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To allow it to be there, but
Mm-hmm.
also to sort of interact in a playful way.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm thinking about my kids, and
Okay.
yeah, just playing when they're in a mood that isn't chipper, is in a, and
Okay.
yeah,
Mm.
and wanting to honor their emotions, not tell them, hey, stop crying, or stop feeling that way.
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, I would like to try to not fight it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if it's it's another kind of question along those lines, is this:
Mm-hmm.
what if this fogginess is more friendly than you actually realized? And what would that mean? I'm not, once again, I'm not asking you, these
Yeah.
are more like,
Yeah. 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 Okay. I'll chew on that.
yeah, exactly, that's okay. Well, true, that's good. Yeah.
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 Okay.
We're going from the anal to the oral society here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's the right direction, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe this is
Yeah.
a point to break
Yeah. Sounds good.
our thing out. Let's have some from the outside comments. You can have
Sounds good.
some. Maybe I can. Do you
Yeah.
have any?
Yeah. So there's a lot going on there, and I don't know from a teaching perspective where to start. I feel like maybe it'd be more beneficial since I was it was my stuff. If you started,
Okay, okay, I can
yeah,
start.
yeah.
Well, we had one short instance, right? Overall, I think in an ordinary, which I think is more like, sounds like, an ordinary conversation in a sense
Mm-hmm.
about important issues, but still an ordinary conversation. Uh, we were talking about, I think it was an effort to try to make a functional analysis of two different strategies. If you're a FAP therapist, you could say, oh, there was something about the CRB1s and there were some things about the CRB2s, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most of our dialogue was not about what happened right now, but was outside what happens in your life, in your
Yes.
afternoons or whatever.
Yes.
But there was one moment when I at least asked you a question about, is there a CRB1 going on right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remember with
Yeah.
the
The
perf,
smell.
are you, yeah,
Yeah.
and what are you actually trying to do right now?
Yeah.
But I think all of this was, from my perspective, is trying to sort of discriminate different behaviors. And then, of course, what is helpful, what is not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And there were questions about, and you answered about, trying to help you to, discriminate the smell or whatever when something that you would like to do more is
Mm-hmm.
actually occurring. You mentioned a few examples. I think playing the saxophone in some sense would had to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
There were parts of your eating behavior actually that you considered more like that,
Mm-hmm.
more playful.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had this event when this morning walk that you described, it
Mm-hmm.
also had that sort of. They were more alike in a sense.
Yeah.
Functionally, that was sort of suspect, but functionally, these were more alike, even though, of course, topographically they were very different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there were this. It seems like when the smell of "you have to be perfect" turns up, there is the risk that you will do certain types of behaviors that are actually not so helpful to you.
Mm-hmm. So the first part of what you're looking at and we're after is this discrimination of behaviors, both to help me see them and to help you understand the function.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the ultimate thing that I want to do is to help you to see it.
Okay.
And to have to sort of, discriminate something that will help you to do something differently in some way. But of course, in the process, it is for me to help you. It's better if I also understand some things, or I can, that's why, or because then I can maybe be of more help. But of course, ultimately, it's you doing the discrimination that is the goal of the interaction.
Okay. So you're reflecting back to me what you're hearing, checking in to see if
trying,
yeah.
Sometimes giving more suggestions. I think that's different also in different dialogues. I was pretty active, I think, in this dialogue.
Yeah.
Could be much less, but it
more.
depends on.
Yeah. Yeah, we each have our own style. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing that I've picked up in many contexts is that we have these teachers and they show us a model and then we kind of pretend to be them for a while, and then it's time to eventually we get back to being who we are. Yeah, what's natural for us.
Yeah.
And so okay, so if we can, so could you talk more about the second part of what we talked about earlier in terms of the chapter from the CBS handbook?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Establishing observational distance,
Yeah.
I think that in a sense, at the basic level, it's a part already of the functional analysis, because if you discriminate different aspects of the situation in which you tend to do certain things, that already is starting establishing an observational distance. Oh, it's when that turns up. For example, in the dialogue when I asked you about what is occurring now, are you sensing are you playing now, or are you being perfect? Is the judge here, or is it the whatever the different one is? And then when you try to answer that question, you sort of notice, I guess, something about your own feeling in the moment, or your sense of, am I playing now, or am I? That is, you are sort of establishing an observational distance. You make, which one is it? Even using a metaphor like smelling would be part of that, because obviously we're not talking about something that smells, right? This is metaphorical talk. But smells, typically what happens here, you start to look for actual smells. You had some suggestions first, which was sort of a little bit trying to be perfect, a little bit, maybe. Okay. But then you had some others say, okay, I look up and I see something that is, from this. Okay, so you're actually talking about your own experience, or sort of what Skinner would call private events, right? What sensing your body, whatever thoughts, feelings that occurs to you, and you talk about them using an outward object. So you're in this, this is what is meant by diffusion or establishing observation distance. It's sort of that's what I feel, but when I talk about it as something outward. So bringing metaphors in like this is part of a strategy to try to help you with the second principle.
Okay.
If you want, then the question, okay, the third principle, that taking direction, this was not, I would say,
what's meant by that taking? What's meant by taking direction?
Well, if you're familiar with ACT, it would be the right side of the hexagon. Okay. Values, valued action. What is important to you, right? And there was some parts of our discussion where this was sort of tried to go there, and you gave me some things on it. This asking you if you had this chance to be, the beef stuff. There was something there, not just about beef, but it was something about being more, flexible, or being more, being able to interact with the environment in an open and way. That was something there that we didn't specify very much, but I think had to do with what you ultimately want to be about.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the third principle.
Okay. And so I'm wanting to just check in with you. Your part of this functional analysis is looking at behaviors that aren't helpful, looking for behaviors that are helpful, understanding the purpose of the behavior. What is it serving? Okay.
Yeah.
Helping the person to see that the effect that this behavior is having on them. Okay. And can you talk a little bit more about exposure in that?
Okay. And
maybe in the context of what we just did here.
Okay. Now, if part of the problematic strategy is to avoid something, okay. So once you start to do something differently, I either think about what would be the result of being more playful, to use this. I think I asked you. That was once again about the meat thing. What would the judge say if you did that? What would the judge say? And you said something about it. You said something about it. Well, in a sense, it doesn't say much. It's more like a sense. You said it's something that's wrong, outside the path. It's just bad, or staying with that, and even talking so that you contact that would be very close to what is typically meant by exposure. You do something new, and then the thing that you sort of avoided turns up. And I think that in this essence, I think that's what exposure is about. You do something that you don't, in a certain situation, you tend to do certain things, right?
Yeah.
But if that, and that's a problematic in some way. Now, if you in that situation, for some reason, do something differently that does not have the function of avoiding what you did avoid earlier, then this thing will turn up. You know, if you, I mean, if you smoke a cigar, and probably you don't appreciate that at all. That's not a.
I've tried. I've tried.
Okay, yeah. But if there was something, you know, if that would typically provoke the, oh, I really did something bad, then of course smoking a cigar could be an exposure for whatever comes up, right? Because then you will have to meet this.
Yes.
Now, of course, when you chose what to be exposed to, I wouldn't suggest a cigar for you, because why if there's nothing, if it would be all, you know, there's something about smoking a cigar. I don't want to smoke, but there's something about smoking a cigar that's sort of part of being playful in some context. Then, of course, because then it would be connected to what you in ACT you call a value, something of ultimate importance. Yeah. If it's not, it would be an exposure still, but why go that way? There are other ways. You know, maybe preparing and eating a really good beef would be a better exposure, for example, or you know, doing something else that's outside of being perfect, but that serves an ultimate value to you.
Okay.
So why smoke cigars? I mean, if there's nothing in it for you, why should you? You know. And sometimes you can actually do something that does not have an ultimate value, but it's just as an experiment to actually provoke exposure. But in the long run, I think exposure should be directed towards things that have an ultimate value.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very interesting point that you're making in terms of the exposure and being tied to a value.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, there are exposure treatments that are not like that, right? And it could be very helpful in certain contexts. Let's say you have some kind of a OCD problem. There is extensive avoidance of all things that could be dirty. And in some of these treatments, you put your hand down the toilet stool, right? Or you take your shoe and you lick it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's not. I mean, that's not the good life you're after. I don't go and lick my shoes, right? Yeah. But there are situations where it actually could be helpful as an exposure.
Yeah.
But in the ultimate, so I'm not saying you couldn't do these, you know, more strange things. You can, and sometimes it's helpful. But it's more like but ultimately you need to connect it to something of value. Yeah. I think.
Well, that. Was a mouthful and a heartful and a mindful. I think there's a lot there for me and hopefully others who are listening to unpack from our example here. Is there anything else that we left hanging, you think, Niklas?
Probably. I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. Okay. Anything that's particularly
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's.
All right. Yeah. Where I really like your book, The ABCs. I'm wondering if there's other good books that you think would help those of us who are still curious about functional analysis, or actually, functional analysis, functional assessment. Can you real quick assessment? What's the difference between assessment and analysis? They're used interchangeably.
That's a big thing, because you know, that's an old controversy within behavior analysis because functional analysis, if you're very strict, functional analysis is a very specific procedure where you you can do one thing and then you check it out the different ways. coming from experimental work.
Mhm.
And of course, what we just did now, we called functionalysis. But if you have that strict definition,
Okay.
this was not.
So it's okay to use them interchangeably.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So
and they are. Yeah.
Okay. Where are you? What do you think someone could pick up to further themselves along this path as a starting point?
Oh, let's see. I think there are several books, but they tend to be a more sort of theoretical and
Okay.
sort of geared towards experimental work or research and things. For clinical, I think still, I mean, for example, some of the original FAP book is still, because this distinction between CRP1s, clinically relevant behavior 1 and clinical behavior relevant.
That's the 1990 or 1991 book,
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah,
91, I think, yeah. I think it's a very good book, and there are chapters in other books with a similar sort of old type FAP terminology. I think it's there.
Okay.
If you want, actually, one book that sort of goes through the principles and ties them specifically to the three principles that I talked about, and ties them specifically to this kind of work that we try to do here, is my book on metaphor. There's a lot because it's about metaphor, but it's about how metaphor can be used in this specific way.
Okay.
So you have it there, and then of course you have it in the chapter that I mentioned from the contextual behavioral science book.
Yeah.
That I wrote together with Karma Luciano and Yvonne Barnes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's also a good reference, I think, from this more sort of RFT perspective. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. I am very grateful to have had you as a guide here, and felt like we played together today. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah.
Niklas is has several books that you can check out. You've got the infamous green RFT book, which and Metaphor and Practice, ABCs of Human Behavior, and more. You can check them out online. I'll put some links in the show notes. Also, Niklas is available for consultation for clinicians, and I'll put his email contact information there as well. Okay. So thank you so much, Niklas.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for a playful interaction. Yeah. That's great.
But I'm getting stronger. They take a piece of me. But I'm getting stronger. They take a piece of me. But I'm getting stronger. They take a piece of me.